Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Bahasham, Barakahak Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. And hey, this is just a World War III in the Middle East, update. And, shit is just constantly happening right now. But, I'm trying to get it as up to date as I can. But hey, biblical prophecy just continues to, take place right before our very eyes. As most of you should know by now, Israel, last night struck, Iranian sites and, took out, some scientists, I believe, and some leadership. Hey, they are definitely in, where's it at? In that, Jeremiah 49 and 20 spirit. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh that he had taken against Edom, you so-called white people, which those 1948ers are. They're the tribe of Amalek, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock, those Amalekite Edomites, those small hats over there, shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And hey, with their recent strikes on Iran, this is just further building up those tensions. And eventually, hey, it's going to get to the point to where there will be all-out war against Iran, and it's going to draw out the United States of America in on the side of the 1948ers and the other NATO nations, but on the side of Iran, it's going to draw out her allies like Russia and China, which I'm going to read a little bit of this article from abcnews.go.com. Trump tells ABC Israel strikes on Iran excellent and warns of more to come. They got hit hard, very hard, Trump says. In the wake of a series of strikes by Israel on Iran's nuclear sites, potentially pushing the Middle East, really Western Asia, to the brink of an all-out conflict, which there will be one, President Donald Trump told ABC News he thought the attacks had been excellent and suggested there was more to come. And hey, like I said, the least of the flock is going to draw them out. When it really gets up there, the U.S. is going to come in on the side of Israel. And the U.S. is already moving more military assets into that region. This is an article from thehill.com. U.S. shifting Middle East military assets after Israel attacks Iran. The United States is shifting military resources, including ships, in the Middle East in response to Israel's strikes on Iran and a possible retaliatory attack by Tehran, which they just did some drone strikes on Israel. Two U.S. officials said Friday the Navy has directed the destroyer USS Thomas Hudner to begin sailing toward the eastern Mediterranean and has directed a second destroyer to begin moving forward so it can be available if requested by the White House. President Donald Trump is meeting with his National Security Council principals to discuss the situation. The two U.S. officials spoke on the condition of anonymity to provide details not yet made public. The forces in the region have been taking precautionary measures for days, including having military dependents voluntarily depart regional bases in anticipation of the strikes and to protect those personnel in case of a large-scale response from Tehran. There are typically around 30,000 troops based in the Middle East. However, that number surged as high as 43,000 last October amid the ongoing tensions between Israel and Iran, as well as continuous attacks on commercial and military ships in the Red Sea by the Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen. Which brings me to Joel 2:20. But I will remove far off from you the Northern Army, the North American Army, the United States military, all branches, which, as we just read from that last article, 2 more destroyers are getting moved to that region, and there are around 43,000 troops in the region, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, like a desert, the Middle East, with his face toward the East Sea and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. And this is talking about, Saudi Arabia, which is going to be the main staging ground for the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, the culmination of World War III, which is what all these things are leading towards. And when you look at a map of, Western Asia with Saudi Arabia, which just so happens to be the place where the U.S. always launches its major wars in the Middle East from, with his face toward the East Sea, to the east, you have the Persian Gulf, which above that is Iran. And then to the northeast, you have the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in Iraq, or going through Iraq, which the U.S. has a military presence there. And his hinder part, or behind him toward the utmost sea, the Red Sea, which, as we just read in that article, the U.S. has been having clashes with the Houthi Yemeni rebels in the Red Sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things. Because there's going to be a great slaughter of not just U.S. military personnel, but all the heathens as militaries that are going to be gathered down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat for this war. But let's get back to this clip.
The Jewish state.
And fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Refuses to be a victim of a nuclear holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions. Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey. This is an intolerable threat. It too must be stopped. Today, our strong and courageous soldiers and people stand together to defend ourselves against those who seek our destruction. And by defending ourselves, we defend many others, and we roll back a murderous tyranny. Generations from now, history will record that our generation stood its ground, acted in time, and secured our common future.
And now, I'm go to this, a few images that some brothers posted in our chat from Suleiman Ahmed's Twitter. Breaking: Netanyahu, if we fall, and that won't happen, but it is going to happen, but if we do fall, many parts of the world will fall with us. Hey, the least of the flock shall draw them out. And then, breaking from Inside Paper, Israel has resumed attacks on Iran. Fordo, one of the main underground nuclear sites, is now under attack. Natanz has also been badly damaged in the strikes. Multiple locations in Tehran also reported explosions, and this was posted at 10:56 a.m., so about, 15 minutes ago, which, I don't know the validity of this recent post. I'm just trying to give as much updated information as I can. But hey, things are rapidly escalating. Now, I'm gonna go to, let's see. This article from CBSnews.com. Iran launches drones at Israel as Israel attacks Iranian nuclear sites. Top commanders, IDF, says. Tehran launched more than 100 drones at Israel on Friday morning, Israel's military said, not long after Israel announced it had begun a major operation against Iran, with a wave of airstrikes targeting Iranian nuclear facilities, scientists, and senior military commanders. Israel Defense Force spokesman Brigadier General Effie Defrin said in a televised remarks that Iran had launched the drones and that Israel's air defenses were already working to intercept the threats. Later Friday, an Israeli military official told reporters that while the threat wasn't over, Israel had managed to intercept many of Iran's UAVs. I'm going to jump down to here. Israel says it destroyed Iran's air defenses, killed top commanders. Earlier Friday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Milkowski's announced that the IDF had begun Operation Rising Lion with a massive wave of airstrikes against dozens of Iranian nuclear sites, military commanders, and research scientists, saying the goal was to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. I can confirm that the senior security leadership of the Iranian regime has been eliminated in the strike. The Iranian chief of staff, Muhammad Bagheri, the commander of the Revolutionary Guards, Hossein Salami, and the head of the emergency command, Gholam Rashid, Defrin said, adding that other commanders had been deleted and that the 1948ers would provide further updates. He said Israel had targeted and struck the Iranian regime's aerial defense arrays. And, here's a map with the strikes and the people, that they said they took out. So this is a major escalation. And like I said earlier, biblical prophecy just continues to take place right before our very eyes. And, that all-out war will not truly take place until the mark of the BEAST in Revelation 13 verses 16 to 18 is mandatorily implemented, which is that RFID/NFC micro C-hip implant. And that in itself is right around the corner. You're hearing more and more nations talk about moving towards a cashless digital society and setting up CBDCs. And then you've got Elon Musk's Neuralink out here with other BCI or brain-computer interfaces. So we are at the door of this thing. Apostle Tahar has deemed 2024 to be the hopeful year of the deliverance of the elect and the destruction of Esau, Edom. And hey, our salvation is nearer than when we believed. But, as it said back in that Jeremiah 49 verse 20, the least of the flock shall draw them out. On the side of Israel, when things fully get there, it's going to be the U.S. and other NATO nations, but also on the side of Iran, Russia. This is Ezekiel chapter 38. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the header reads, prophesy about Gog and the future invasion of Israel. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, and this is the biblical name for Russia, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Because while the Lord is going to use Russia, to cause, a lot of destruction to America, ultimate destruction to America and shooting nuclear missiles onto her, and then coming to Iran's aid in the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, when those things take place, hey, the Most High is going to cast Russia to the side and judge them as well, because they're Edomites, heathens. But verse 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. The Most High putting those Russians back in that confrontational Soviet Union spirit, which we can clearly see that they're in with their war in Ukraine, and then building up, their military and economic assets globally. And I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, their military might being gathered down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Verse 5, Persia, which is the ancient name for Iran, Ethiopia and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, all of Russia's allies, which Russia has either military, economic, or both ties, with these countries right now. Gomer, which is speaking of Turkey, which, though Turkey is a NATO nation right now, they're eventually going to betray the West and get with the East and all his bands. The house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard, a protector unto them. So they're going to be drawn out on the side of Iran. Verse 8, after many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword and gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel. Talking about the Holy Land, and those that are gathered out of many people are what? Those Amalekite Edomites that, a lot came from Central and Eastern Europe and other parts of the world into the Holy Land, with the Balfour Declaration and then the 1948 Declaration of Independence after World War II, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, and all thy bands and many people with thee. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, it shall come to pass that at that same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, to come against the land of Israel, those Amalekite Edomites, which, there's no going back once Russia does that, just like there's going to be no going back once that war with Iran finally kicks off. And thou shalt go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest and that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. And, for the longest time, those 1948ers were dwelling, safely, so to speak, because the nations surrounding them really couldn't do major damage to them. They had the Iron Dome and other anti-missile defense systems, and America backing them. But now we're coming into the times where they're not dwelling so safely. Even though Iran hasn't done major damage to them with their recent strikes over the last couple of years, they're showing that we can get past your anti-missile defense systems, that Iron Dome isn't so solid. So when it comes time to hit hard, best believe they're going to hit hard. To take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land. And like I've been saying all throughout the video, what this is going to culminate into is the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the end game. This is Joel 3 verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, the heathens. Prepare war. World War III, the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, war with Iran, nuclear war, because it is going to go nuclear. And the Holy Land will get hit by nukes, as well as other parts of, across the planet, and the United States of America, which The Holy Land and America are going to get wiped off the map. But the only difference is that the Holy Land will be built back up again, and the true Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are going to be in there and inhabit it and rule in the kingdom of heaven. But America is going to lay as a desolate wasteland for eternity. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. As we read in that article, the U.S. is moving more military assets into that region. And, you got Russia with positionings in there. Verse 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. And an example of that is Iran, which, for decades, they would have never have dared to launch strikes on a 1948er soil. But as we just read, there was 100 drone strikes, Friday morning. And then over the last couple of years, there have been several strikes, first ever, on the 1948ers by Iran. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. And those are the death angels holding back this great destruction, waiting to get the go-ahead to release it, which, like I said earlier, is going to mainly happen after the mark of the BEAST is mandatorily implemented. Let the heathen be wakened. The United States of America, Iran, the state of Israel, Russia, China, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, other Arab nations, the dragons of Arabia in 2nd Esdras 16, and the NATO nations. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together. Salakia, verse 12. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which in the Hebrew is Yahweh's Shaphat, or Yahweh's judgment. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And this is going to take place as judgment for you heathens afflicting the children of Israel, which you can read about in verses 1 to about, verse 4 of this chapter. And at the top of that list, as pursuant to Psalms 83, are you Edomites. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. And with all these major things taking place, we can see that the day of Yahweh is very near in the valley of decision. So that's it for this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.